Welcome everyone to the PJScast. I'm your host Pierce, live from Montreal at the Sheraton Hotel, joined with my good co-host Schmitty. But we have a very special guest today. We have the wonderful Emily Kaplan of ESPN. How's it going, Emily?
It's going really great. Thank you guys so much for having me. Firstly, you have dope shoes on, Pierce.
Thank you.
Those are real. I'm sorry, I'm just noticing them now. They're pretty cool. Those are fire.
Thank you.
But I'm good. I'm waiting for this coffee to hit. These weekends are always really overwhelming, and there's so much to do. And the coffee's just starting to hit now, so you'll see me perk up as this goes along.
What time did you get up today?
I got up at. You know what? I don't think the details are important. It was a late night, and it was an early start.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like a weekend moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour almost.
Correct.
It's gonna, blink and it's gonna be Saturday. But
so before getting into the questions, how has Montreal been so far? And the biggest question is, have you tried any of the Montreal bagels yet?
Okay, I've been so busy that I haven't had time to go and find out the spots. And I know, as a bagel snob and a self-professed bagel snob, you can't just go to any spot. You have to go to these spots. So my goal today is to potentially find time, but I have left time tomorrow. So other than that, Montreal's been awesome. I've been here when I was a kid, not since, as an adult, and just such a beautiful city, such cool people, cool food, cool bars. So I'm loving it.
Oh yeah, I've never been on an airplane before. It was my first time on an airplane, so it couldn't have been a better place or a better time just being at the draft. So we're really glad to have you. And originally we were supposed to do it yesterday, but you said you had some interviews with prospects. And how did that go? Who did you interview? And what were some anecdotes that you got from that?
I actually was in interviews with prospects yesterday, so I don't want to miss it. I literally just had hits and talking to GMs and agents. But these prospects, and I've gotten to know them personally, I find it interesting in talking to some of them over the last several weeks is that we're seeing the shift in culture where these kids are electric personalities. Some of them are still the, coach hockey speak, and I think Shane Wright kind of does that. He's very polished.
You gotta get pucks in deeply.
Yeah,
60.
exactly. But some of these kids just aren't afraid to be themselves, and I think that's really exciting.
oh yeah,
I even say they're true to their authentic selves.
There you go.
oh yeah, and it's something that this league desperately needs. I mean, the fact that we could have just these many personable, marketable talents coming up, it's just gonna be so good for the younger audience. Because I look at guys like Matt Savoy who just radiates skill, and he's got a personality to go with him also. So it's
that's so funny you say that, because he was one of the first guys I met. I met him in Denver during the Stanley Cup final amongst some of the other top prospects, and he just stuck out. And I was just wow, this kid's gonna get some endorsement deals.
Oh yeah,
he was confident.
Oh yeah, and like you said, it's something that this league needs because I feel like we slowly kind of crept into it. Matthews has kind of been the first younger talent to really start to show his personality, but man, if we could get some of these kids to start doing it every year, it's just going to be a giant, like you said, giant culture shift. It'd be great for the sport, honestly. I just had a personal question about the playoffs because, obviously you were on the ice for almost every ESPN game. What was kind of a daily process for preparing for those games and maybe getting the questions ready for your post-commercial interviews and whatnot?
Yeah.
Maybe what the process was
for sure. I mean, it begins at morning skate, right? So you go to morning skate and you see what's going on the ice, and the best thing that happens when you're on a broadcast is you get these coaches meetings where you get to go and meet with the coaches. For the first 3 rounds, it was just our broadcast team. In the final round, it was the other media rights partners in Canada as well, and they would tell you stuff off the record on background of what was really going on and how to talk about their team, and that was so valuable to me because I felt like it gave me a different eye of what to look for, what the coaches know and what they don't know. During the day, sometimes I'd make calls, sometimes I'd watch the tape. By the time that the playoffs got to the final round, we're probably one series. You don't need a watch. Your prep is covering the last game, and that's it. And as for the questions, I really don't think of them too far ahead of time. In fact, usually just a couple seconds as I'm staying there waiting for the guys because I want to be. I think the purpose of that role is to get real-time information on what's going on. So I want to react to how they played in that last period, what was going on, and so that's my prep, and that was kind of a day. They all blurred together. It was a grind. It was a lot, but I would not trade it for the world because it was the sickest experience.
Oh, yeah. And I was going to say, it's you definitely get to interview some characters mid-game. When you guys were working the Eastern Conference Final, every time you interviewed Gallant, I was Gallant just doesn't want to talk, I feel like.
It was amazing because, again, in these coaches meetings, he's so pleasant and lovely, and he just doesn't say anything to the media, and he's just a really awesome dude who just, all guys are different, and anyway, so it was kind of the challenge, just try to get something out of him.
Let's get past that layer.
Yeah, exactly. And he would always say it with a smile, but never say anything.
It's always great. It's always the best coaches seem to have that knack of having just a lot of nothing to say.
Correct.
Like, I know Bruce Cassidy was another big one like that.
What's the thing? They're good at saying nothing.
Yeah. Oh man.
And kind of like to to the point of that question, to piggyback off his idea, what was it like being on TV more? Because you're pretty much a writer on ESPN, but now this season you took like a big step being on TV. So how was that like?
It was interesting, to be quite honest with you. It's not something that I prepared for or knew how to prepare for, and I'm not sure you really can. You're kind of just thrust into it. The visibility aspect was just kind of weird to make. By the finals, we were having 4.5 million people watch our games, and it being in the cities where those games are happening, that was really strange. That's Shane Wright's agent. He's going to know some information, or doesn't know information. In fact, that point yesterday, he told me we really don't know. Anyway, so that was kind of just a bit of a struggle for me, honestly. It was being in public and saying like, oh, people know who I am, or they think they know who I am because they see me on TV, but they really don't. And being in public places and people taking photos or staring at me, that was strange. And then just adjusting to the nature of TV, because I'm a writer and I like putting all of my nuance out there and getting all of my words out there. And I would get 20-second spots. And I'm like, how do you tell a story in 20 seconds? You have to be so economical with your words.
On the fly.
Oh, yeah.
So on the fly.
Very calculated.
Yes, and it's in the middle of a game a lot of times. And the last thing I want to do is talk over game action or rob the viewer of an experience with goals. So that was all an adjustment. But in TV, they tell you it's all about reps. And really in anything in life, it's all about reps. So the more I did it, the more comfortable I got. And then I knew next year, if I did it again, I'd be a lot more comfortable.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, like, I got to imagine, like, the shift from, like, ESPN to NBC Sports is probably just a big change for everyone in the industry. So it wasn't like you were on your own, kind of. But like you said, like, this is definitely going to get easier. I bet, like, once the playoffs came, you're like, all right, I got this. Let's go to morning skate and get this done.
Exactly.
Was that Kevin showing off?
No, but it looks just like
It looked exactly like him.
That is a man named Dave Fisher who works for USA Hockey, but he's Kevin Tabletaoff's doppelganger, and we'll let him know after.
Nice. So I guess going like, because you've had the ability or pleasure to cover a lot of teams in this league. Is there a specific team that you find that you maybe favor covering at times, or is it just kind of you pick and choose this?
Yeah, for me, I root for stories. I root for people. And so I don't know if there's one team, but like there's guys on certain teams or stories on certain teams, and I want to see those come to fruition. So without calling anyone out, like there were really, and also just teams that were easy to work with, that would give access, that weren't difficult, or saying, no, this person can't talk. So it kind of ebbs and flows. I would say on every team, I feel like there's at least one great story or one person that I've gotten to meet. And I'm like, wow, I just want to see that person succeed. And there's a couple people on every team where I'm like, meh, I don't really have time for you.
It's not how it always is, though. I've heard many stories in the media where it's like, yeah, you definitely have the guys you like and the guys that
exactly
you're going to get an interview with, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I had a question about so you were covering the draft last year in Columbus, and I guess to make it a little more personal, we're big Blackhawk fans, obviously. So like you were one of the pivotal people to break the Seth Jones trade. I was just curious as maybe how that process works when like a big blockbuster trade like that, you're just hearing that come through the line, and you maybe get, like in your case, you were like the first to break it. So what's that kind of like?
So news breaking is interesting. It's hard, and I don't know if it's something that I necessarily want to be a full-time newsbreaker. And like I'm literally staring at Darren Drager right now, and he's walking down an escalator on his phone, and that's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
It's nonstop, and it's a full-on grind, and he's probably working on 10 different things that he's been working on for months. And so for me, because I have so many different roles at ESPN, like when I break news, I kind of have to pick my spots. So that one was one where I knew I was going to be in Columbus. I knew there was a possibility Seth was going to be traded. And so I, for a couple of weeks, was really sure that I was on it. So I was all parties involved, right? So Seth, agents, the people that I knew in the Columbus Blue Jackets organization, there was 2 or 3 teams that I had an idea that he probably could go to. One were the Blackhawks, making sure I was in touch with them, and like hounding them all day. What are you hearing?
Like me texting you, like when we're going to do the podcast.
Exactly.
So that was what it would be like.
It was persistence, though, and that's what it takes, honestly. And so like just to break one trade, I probably sent off 20 texts, 20 phone calls, harassing people.
It was that crazy for my end.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're a respectful pest, which is my favorite phrase. But yes, but that was what, and that's why so tonight, like, for example, I have a couple again where I'm like, I'll pick and choose my spots of ones that I think I can break and work on. But there's people who do this nonstop and have been working on these trades for the last, honestly, 6 months. And for me, the last 2 months, I was taken away just covering the playoffs every day. Like, you only have so much bandwidth.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, honestly, like, especially with this offseason, it feels like everyone's trying to beat every other insider to the punch to the point where they're starting to correct themselves now.
I know.
Like, the Blackhawks coach got announced by weeks, and then it wasn't Huska. So then everyone had to double down and say it wasn't, and then it ended up being Richardson. So, like, I get to see how much of a competitive, like...
It's so competitive, and it's challenging, and it's also, like, kind of a thankless job to be a newsbreaker because you put in all this effort, and maybe you get glory for, like, a couple minutes on Twitter, and then it becomes official, and who cares?
Yeah.
So...
It's past news now.
Well, all I can
especially
say is
now.
we definitely cared when you broke the Seth Jones deal because we were like, all right, what's Emily saying? She's been on top of this all day.
And then you got the Fleury trade and the Johnson trade too.
I had some connections in the Blackhawks front office that year.
Yeah. We could definitely tell. We were like, we're definitely keeping an eye on what Emily has to say.
So tonight, for example, we'd like to see where Alex DeBrincat will end up, and we're working on it, but I also know there's a lot of people working on it, and we'll see where it goes.
That's one of those trades where it's like, if it happens, it happens, but the closer we get, I'm like, if Philly doesn't want to give the 5th overall pick, if Arizona doesn't want to give the 2nd overall pick, this trade's not happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's not happening. And, like, Ottawa won't give up 7 for him, even though they say they will. So, I don't know. Like, you probably heard, like, a million different, like, rumors of what could happen today. Like,
I think if they're going to trade him, it's going to be, like, if they're going to trade him, it's either going to be today or they're not going to trade him at all, I feel like they're going to try to keep him after, like, if they don't find a deal. Because I think they really want to get the first round specifically.
You just got to give the fan base clarity with the Brinket. Because if they keep him, they got to extend him. Because you can't dangle your best asset over your fan base like that. It's like, I'm talking, like, casual fans. They're like, I don't want to spend tickets on this team if he's gone. And I'm just like, you know, they need to start figuring that out.
It's tough. I would say this. From what I know, I think we've gotten to the point where what Kyle wants to do, Charles Davis is the GM, and what the directive is rebuild. And I think they envision having a team of 21-year-olds over the next year or two. And Alex said, not that he doesn't fit into that plan, but it's not quite the same timeline. And they'll only get rid of him because he's such a valuable player if what the return is so much. And kind of, you know, we saw what they got from Brendan Hagel. You that and then some. And I would say this, we're at the point now where the people who are stepping up to the table have pretty significant offers, and I think it's an inevitability.
Okay. No, and that's fine. Obviously, like, we're all for the rebuild idea. And, like, if anything, it's nice to have a sense of direction for the organization. Because
it's been,
to be honest, 12 months ago, they thought they were going to be in the playoffs for what they were trying to do.
Correct.
So, maybe just a question just for, like, when you're talking to all these teams and whatnot, like, how different does, like, just, you know, like, the Blackhawks kind of set on a rebuild this season, but, you know, everything changes every year. Like, how often do you hear teams maybe change their plans over the course of the season? Or, like, you just hear, like, oh, maybe they're going to sell this guy, but now they're going to extend it.
It's a great question. It's often. And I think situations can be really fluid, and you never really know how the season's going to pan out. I think there's a lot of people, or a lot of teams, rather, who are you? Who start, sorry, it's so hard to say in the lobby. You just see people come by and you're like, blah, 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 blah.
I've been pretty distracted.
Like,
is that an NHL executive?
Yeah, exactly. And it very well could be, because that's the other thing about this event is, like, if you like hockey, like, everyone is here. Literally everyone.
Oh, I mean, I was on the flight with Danny Wards last night from Chicago.
Awesome.
So.
We love it. But yeah, anyway, the point being, I think a lot of teams begin the season, they think they know where they're going to go, and then maybe go somewhere else, and a player outperforms or a player underperforms. So it is fluid. Typically, they like to stay on a track, but I do think that teams see their timelines changing season to season, and even within season.
Gotcha. Yeah.
What are some teams that you're interested to see ahead of the draft and at free agency? Like, literally just list off any teams that, like, that intrigue you. Like, it
doesn't even have to be like anything you've heard. Just like, oh, I'm just curious.
Just what you're gonna do.
I'm curious about the New Jersey Devils. I really am. I think that they need a goalie. They're aggressively going after a goalie. I wouldn't be shocked if they get a goalie today via a trade, perhaps. And they just look like they're young and they're rebuilding, but they know they need to be more competitive. And what I've heard is that they're not afraid to spend. So I think that's a team that over free agency and this trade could be kind of interesting. The Blackhawks are obviously interesting and seeing, you know, I think we'll get some clarity into Brinket. I'm not sure we're going to get clarity on Kane and Taze in the next couple of days.
They got to move their moves for anything to happen.
Right. However,
this will speed up the process.
Yes. And however, that could happen in the next year or so. And that's something that I would keep an eye on. The LA Kings are a team that's ready to take a jump. And, you know, they obviously already made that Fiala trade. Like, think they're done yet. I think they could be quite interesting. Honestly, I could keep going and going. I feel like every team is kind of interesting right now and standing pat. The only team that really made their big moves already, I would say, would be the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're Ryan done a trade and doing it. But I talked to Julian Reespaw yesterday, and they obviously the goal for them is to re-sign Andre Palat. He's like, we'll know in the next. I think he said you'll know before free agency day whether we're going to re-sign him or not, and if not, then they get someone, and maybe it's not a huge splash, it's not a huge cap hit, but they've already kind of clarified their plans.
I've been joking with Pierce that if they don't bring back Palat, Phil Kessel should go to Tampa, 100%. Because he's being wasted in Arizona, and he had 50 assists almost in Arizona. Tampa can put that to use. He can get 60 points.
I like that. We'll see if it happens. I like that fit.
Oh, yeah.
My laptop just died, and then a bunch of people walked by, and we got distracted. But you know what? I don't want to keep that in because it was cool, hearing people and
we'll do it.
Oh, yeah.
Natural sounds of the NHL draft.
The authenticity.
Yes, exactly.
I don't even know where we left off.
We were talking about teams everyone was excited for.
Yes, and you heard them all there.
Yeah, basically. I guess maybe so last year was the first draft ESPN had in a while. What's maybe different going into this year as in terms of last year in Columbus?
Yeah. Well, last year, honestly, and that's what, if you keep this conversation, and Dave Fisher just asked me, are you taking Sportsnet Speed? And we co-produced it with NHL Network. It was our first event since getting the rights. And again, I was the only one that they said was part of it. And so that was kind of weird. We had some people at NHL Network Studios. It's kind of, this is our first full event, and we're doing it, and it's great. I'm the only one on site. A lot of our production's out of Bristol. Mm-hmm. Next year, I think we're going to have a very much bigger presence. Also, just being north of the border and so with some COVID restrictions, I think it was hard for us to kind of plan ahead like that. And next year, it'll be in the States, so it'll be a very big production for ESPN.
Is the draft going to be in the States next year? Do you know?
98% sure.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I was hoping it kind of come to Edmonton, but maybe another year.
Edmonton gets enough events. You've had every World Juniors for the last 10 years.
That's the World Juniors. We get the I think we get the Holinka every second year, and then then it goes to Europe, then it goes back to Edmonton. So I guess it's
you got it.
Let's not get greedy.
Yeah, you got it. Oh man. I guess maybe just out of obviously the playoffs are fun to cover, the draft's fun to cover. Is there a specific event throughout the calendar year that?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Is there a specific event during the calendar year that you look forward to every year to cover, or is it kind of just this game on the schedule will be fun to cover?
Yeah, I mean this year was a year first, right, for us and having the rights, and I was super excited. Anytime there's something going to Seattle Kraken opening up their building for the first time, that was when I started going. Events-wise, the All-Star Game is always a tentpole event for ESPN and our rights deal. It's always, again, kind of like this. Everyone just sends someone plays a little lesser so because it's not front offices, but all the agents, all the just teams, players, all of that. It's always kind of fun to connect with everyone in the middle of the season. And then, honestly, the draft is something I look forward to. Again, just the energy, especially this year being live again. And
in Montreal.
In Montreal.
Where they have the first overall pick.
Yeah, and as you see, that's just dragged today. I'm just saying hi to everyone. Seeing people, it's been really nice.
Oh yeah, for sure. It seems like it's almost almost like first and last day of school type thing for the media and everything.
That's so funny you said. The last day of the Stanley Cup final was funny because it literally felt like the yearbook. Everyone's like, "Have a great summer, don't change, stay in touch."
2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. But then we see each other here. But yeah, after today, everyone is after free agency. Everyone just
goes to their cottage.
Yeah.
Exactly. It kicks off cottage season, and no one really will talk or see each other for a couple weeks.
Honestly, I feel like y'all definitely deserve that and have earned a couple months of solitude almost.
Exactly.
Is what it's I guess maybe just my one question would be just in terms of working at ESPN, have they this might be kind of personal, but have they offered you any opportunities to work with other sports, or is it mainly just hockey when you're working at ESPN?
It's mainly been just I had opportunities in the past. I covered football before I came to ESPN, so filled in for Bears coverage here and there. Done a couple things like that. I appear in shows like Around the Horn where I get to talk about other sports. But I think to master the hockey beat, I really just need to be immersed in it. And I don't know if I honestly have the bandwidth or interest in trying to dabble in other fields.
Fair enough. I get that. Man, you had to cover the Bears in a year. That must have been food.
Yeah. It was
walking on
fun trips to Bourbonnais in training camp. I remember that.
Oh, man. Yeah.
When did you start at ESPN?
When? 2017, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's 5 years now.
I know, that's wild.
I feel like once you get past 2015, everything just kind of felt like a blur. It's That's 5 years, right? It's been 5 years since Nico Hischier got drafted.
Like we met on Twitter in 2018, and we're now seeing each other for the first time in person, like almost 5 years after.
That's so lovely.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah.
It's like, it just started as a dumb Blackhawks group chat with a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
And like, it's ironic because it started at probably the time when the Blackhawks started stinking. So it's like, it's never.
That's the power of the hockey community. That's really
Honestly,
cool.
it's a beautiful thing. What else do you guys?
I want to be honest, like the draft, free agency. My main questions were just like, I guess like which teams you're looking forward to, but like I feel like every team you could like go through every team and be like, yeah, they can make this move or anything. Yeah, but like I guess I don't know if you know, but like what teams do you think Alex could go to? Not necessarily saying like what team will he go to if you do have like some insider source on that.
I've honestly a lot of teams who doesn't want a guy
That is true.
A 24-year-old that gets 40 goals.
Correct.
I've
So
done it twice.
I would think of the teams that are probably looking to add this year, just generally, like the Philadelphia Flyers are a team that maybe. The Buffalo Sabres, a team, maybe. Honestly, maybe the New Jersey Devils. I don't know why I'm coming up New Jersey so much. Now they're going to have a really quiet couple weeks.
They're just going to be like, we're just going to sit here and do
exactly.
nothing.
They're gonna trade out of the first round.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Love it.
But
No, I'm gonna have to run in a second, but I just want to say you guys are awesome, and I love your passion for the game, and you guys are rock stars, and this is what makes the hockey community special. It's like the fact that you guys can meet, we can do this together, that you reach out and come to an event like this. So I'm really glad that we got to connect.
Yeah,
definitely. Thank you so much for coming on. Like we've been looking forward to this interview for weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I apologize if I was pestering you too much.
No, you were fine.
But
I just felt bad because these events, as you can see, that is Pete Blackburn. Is that Pete Blackburn?
Big fan.
Let's go. Come on, come make a cameo, Pete Blackburn.
No, you want to make a good?
Yeah, you want to
join
join
our
our
show real
podcast?
quick?
We can just do a handoff. You can just roll right through.
Yeah.
This is the internet celebrity.
PJScast,
in real
big
life.
fans of Pete Blackburn.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
He also has dope shoes. Let's put
Yeah,
it
he does.
Yeah. Those are clean.
They're pretty nice.
But thanks, boys.
Yeah, I just want to say this. I think it's awesome, like what you've done to help grow the game.
I just had Kimmy over here so they can compliment.
Okay. Awesome. There we go. Should I slink away now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see
See you later,
you.
Blackburn.
Yeah, see ya.
But yeah, again, like I think it's awesome what you've done to help to grow the game. Like just even seeing you do the interviews when you're like interviewing someone from a different country and you say like goodbye in their language. I mean, a lot of it's on the players, but I also think like if reporters like do a job and do stuff like that, I think it really helps grow the game. And I would think that any like young women are growing up, even if they don't want to be in sports, like if they still want to be in sports reporting, they can look up to you and see that. So I'm like,
It's really cool.
it's awesome that how like you're getting the recognition you deserve, and it's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys for saying that. It's been a fun year. Keep it going.
For sure. So yeah, we'll let you go. We know you're a very busy person. Hopefully we can bump into you at the draft on the floor.
100%,
And
yeah.
I can't wait till we upload this because there's gonna be as soon as we upload it.
Something's happening.
Nothing's happened yet.
Hey, so nice to see you.
I'm our big
What's going on?
source.
Yeah. We're going to go talk offline for a sec. Anyway, it was so nice to see you guys.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right.
you for joining
Have a
us.
great
Okay,
day.
my pleasure. Good luck, boys.
Thank you. See you.